This is one of those mornings that, you begin with a real heavy heart when you and I have jobs that we do. We are journalists. We interview people. But I think there are certain times where you're like, for a minute, I just want to take my journalism cap off and be a mother.
Yeah.
And be a mom.
And be a human.
And talk about, what happened in Nashville was one of those things that I think a lot of people have become desensitized to. If it's not in your town, you go, oh, what happened? Where? Yeah. How many people? Oh, and that kind of desensitization happens.
And I think, as you mentioned, we are moms. Mm-hmm. And I have a friend in Nashville, so I knew of one of the little girls who is 9, who went to school yesterday and who didn't get to come home. So when Henry came home from work, I said, God, did you see this?
Yeah.
And I had to whisper because I have a 9-year-old who was doing her homework. And the thought that any of us could send our children on the buses or walking or drop them off at carpool and not get to hug them again is just beyond. And I, as a book lover, I just have to say, and my mom has said this as a librarian, we are worried about giving our kids Judy Blume and other books that are important to the history, to the fabric of our country, and we aren't worried about sending our kids to schools where they're not safe. Like, I just don't understand what has happened to a country that I know you love, that I love.
No, deeply.
It just, that image of the little girl on the bus.
In the window. And when you think about it, just what you said, what's so weird? I was on vacation last week, and there was a woman who hopped up from her chair and started screaming, George, George, my 4-year-old George. And I saw the panic. The panic when you can't find your kid. She was like, he was just here. She was saying he was just here. And I saw her sprint, and I saw her 8-year-old daughter sprint, and they looked in the ocean. They were looking in the pool. They were sprinting, and the feeling. It's like you don't see your kid for 3 minutes.
Yes.
You're like, what happened?
Yes.
She ended up finding George, all fine. But what I was thinking is, as those parents were rolling up to that school, it's like, where's my kid?
Yes.
Like, if we've all had the fear for a minute of losing sight, and how you think that's the last moment. And to imagine those parents lined up going into that school thinking, like, is my child going to run me? There were mothers banging on buses, screaming their kids' names. I have a friend who lives in Nashville who was telling me about what she had heard about and seen. And she said they were screaming because they had to find their child. So to imagine that these young, little, tiny children are in school sitting there. I won't let my kids cross the street.
No.
I squeeze their hands because maybe a car will turn a corner and I'll have to pull them. Or, my daughter was picking up a knife and I was like imagining a cut. Imagine a cut. So what? Right?
Yeah.
A cut. Okay, so maybe a Band-Aid, maybe a stitch. But that's how we are with our children. We're protective.
But we can't protect them at the place they're most safe. They should be the safest. And I just was thinking last night, too. I was a teacher not that long ago.
Yeah.
I was, 15 years ago? Max.
Yeah.
We did not do drills.
Yeah.
I was not scared. And I taught in the most marginalized areas of this country.
Yeah.
I was not scared going to school.
Right.
I talked with teachers yesterday for a totally different assignment.
Yeah.
Teachers are expected to protect their children versus guns that are scary.
Yeah. When you think about what can happen in such a short period of time, what happened in that school within 15 minutes. The police were there quickly. They were heroic. They came in 14 minutes, and that gunman she was down, and that was it. And so, in the short amount of time that it takes to think about it, you blasted through the windows, you go into a school, and you just do that horrible, irrevocable harm. I think it's just as a mother, forget about any of the other things. As moms, you think about it. And there was this moment that appeared by chance. If you're watching some of the coverage, I think this was on Fox News, but they had a live camera that was up, and they were waiting for a reporter to position in front of it. And then this woman, a mom, who had been her family had experienced a school shooting herself somewhere else kind of came into frame. I think we have that.
Aren't you guys tired of covering this? Aren't you guys tired of being here and having to cover all of these mass shootings? I'm from Highland Park, Illinois. My son and I survived a mass shooting over the summer. I am in Tennessee on a family vacation with my son, visiting my sister-in-law. I have been lobbying in D.C. since we survived a mass shooting in July. I have met with over 130 lawmakers. How is this still happening? How are our children still dying, and why are we failing them?
I mean, how is it still happening? That's exact. There cannot be a person alive who's not asking that question. Anybody.
Forget politics.
Forget everything.
Isn't every mom and dad sitting there thinking, what is happening to this?
Yeah. I think in life sometimes you get desensitized to things because they happen often.
Yeah.
I still remember I came back from maternity leave and I came back on the set and there was a school shooting. And I remembered that it was like, I remember the headline, like, it's happening again. And it was just that way. Here it is. It's happening again. And I remembered thinking that this is how it's being seen and treated.
Yeah.
It's happening again and again and again and again and again, you know. I mean, you know.
You know, words, I think we see moms like that just happened to be there.
Yeah.
Those are the women and the men, too, who are going to change things.
Yes.
But let's not fail our kids.
Yes. I actually think when these kids graduate and grow up and decide what they want to do with their lives professionally, those will be the ones who change. It's a long time to wait, quite frankly. But you think about every kid from Columbine on who has sat in a classroom or known someone who sat in one. They say we have a school shooting that hurts or kills someone once a week in this country. Once a week. We've had 13 already. That's once a week. So that was the stat we started with today. And I was like, once a week. Once a week. So we have to decide, you know, if that's the way you kind of want to live your life.
And the answer is nobody wants to live like that.
Okay.